I'm looking across at the village of Padstow on the river estuary. If you just look to the right there, you can see where the river joins the sea. And across the other side of the estuary is the resort of Rock. The small harbour at Padstow is always a busy tourist attraction. This is the cemetery at Padstow on the hill above the town. As we come through the entrance, we come to the newer memorials first. A small memorial amongst the grass, interesting name, Don Juan Stanley Thomas Rojano. And across the path, in the other new section, there's this one to Julian, Don Juan Rojano. Unusual to find one in the new section. A war grave to Flight Sergeant J.J. Bruce of the Royal Air Force, who died in 1977, aged 48. Very few of these modern stones tell us anything about the person, but here we have a warrant officer retired, Terence James McCarthy. I'm not sure whether that's a warrant officer in the Royal Air Force or in the Army. A large memorial, and one that is listed in various things to see in Padstow, is this one to Edward Woodward, OBE, an actor, a well-known actor. You can't add much to what's written here for Brian Anthony Palmer, known as Tony. It's been a good life. Well, I've looked at this one very hard, and I simply don't understand what it's trying to tell us. Dulcie Dorlin Martin and Robert Wesley Martin, but at the top of the stone we have these things. Are they rockets? A couple of badges at the top, and at the bottom, beneath the inscriptions, we have the shield with all those little gold markings on it. I'm puzzled about this one. Over the back by the hedge, Colin Philip Hornabrook, tragically taken from us, aged 32 in 2004. And the badge at the top is for the Cornwall Fire Brigade. It's a great shame that the letters on here have worn away and I can't make out that name. But the badge at the top is for the British Judo Association. A bit of a humorist on this one. Ilse and Colin Taylor, loving parents, grandparents, great-grandparents, a true gentleman and his Liebchen. And around the outside, I backed a horse last week at 10 to 1. It came in at 4:30. Well, I'm moving further in now. I've passed the very latest of the graves. And here we have the ones that are a little bit older. An enormous slab of stone with a big cross on the top, lying back at an angle in red stone. And on the side we can see a coat of arms, and the name at the bottom is Thomas Henry Sloggett. And there are other names, other Sloggetts on this stone. This is in memory of Ada Knight, 1888, and underneath, rather charmingly written, and of her little Freddie, 1886, aged 4 years. And the below that, Edwin, ever-loving son of the above, who was drowned at sea, 1893, aged 18. Quite a story on this stone. Right beside the path, and as clear as the day it was put up, to the memory of Thomas, the son of Thomas and Selina Pollard, 1886, aged 23, and then Horace, 1864, aged 3 years. And that stone has presumably stood there for 150 years, thereabouts, and it's as clear as the day it was put up. Nearby is Francis Prideaux. He was a master mariner, 1885, aged 68. We'll probably find other master mariners, I would think, because Padstow is, as you saw earlier, a port. And sure enough, another 20 yards further on, Andrew Arnold Watts, a master mariner who died on board his vessel at Burnham in Somerset. That's a little further up the coast here, 1887. This is a large stone with a lot of information about how the poor chap came to leave this world. There's a sailing ship, and then we have Robert Thompson, the son of William and Francis Hutchings, aged 18 years, who threw a cartwheel, knocking the stage on which he was working, lost his balance and fell into the hold of the ketch Francis of Falmouth, a distance of about 20 feet, while discharging cargo at Charlestown at 4:30 p.m. Date there, 1896. He passed away the following morning without regaining consciousness. So we have the whole story about how poor Robert, aged 18, died through that accident. A small area here which seems to be for the children's graves. This low down one is for Mark, the darling son of Brian and Margaret Chellew, 1968, aged 6 years and 9 months. And over the back we have a much more recent one in the modern format, black stone, pink writing, Florence Ava Drinkwater, 2017. Just the one date, so possibly a stillborn child. I'm starting to see several of these war graves. This is P. Bellingur, Pioneer Corps, 1943. And over the back here, there are 3 more in a little group. I'll pick one for a close-up. Well, this is something unusual in the way of the war graves. The 2 words at the top I've just tried to look up on my phone, and they both seem to mean unknown. So I'm thinking that this is a grave to somebody unknown. I think it's Dutch, but I could be wrong. But they died on the 5th of May 1941. So somebody's son is buried here, or remembered here, but nobody quite knows who that was. And something we don't usually see, these are 2 war graves, both from 1918, but one in the black stone and one in the white stone. Let me have a look at this black one first. Gunner R.G. Dale, Royal Garrison Artillery, age 29. If we pan across left, J.E. Stone, stoker first class Royal Navy, HMS Blake, aged 25 in 1918. And this one tells us a little bit more. This is Lance Corporal W. Whitmore, SS Anna Sophie, 1918, aged 42. But at the bottom, where the parents or relations can pay to have additional inscription added, lost off Padstow in 1918, a marine husband and father, missed by wife Margaret and daughters Kathleen and Nora. A particularly large memorial has the young lady in mourning clinging to the cross. The inscription is faded, but quite clearly on the base we can see the family name of Rickard. Now, some time back we came across this insignia at the top, the shield with the gold dots in it. This one has I think a Latin motto, and then OB, presumably meaning old boy. So my first guess is that that is a school badge, maybe a local school. And this is for John Henry McOwen, Old Mac, who died in 1953. Now, right down at the far end of the centre path in this graveyard is this very large memorial, and it is to those that died in a lifeboat disaster. Now, the inscription is not easy to read, but I'll give you some close-ups on it. Erected by public subscription in memory of the following brave men who lost their lives in the entrance of Padstow Harbour through the capsizing of the steam lifeboat James Stevens, number 4, on the night of April 11th, 1900, while endeavouring to save the crew of the Peace and Plenty of Lowestoft. Now, on this side we have a list of 8 names of the men of the lifeboat. I see the top one is David Grubb, coxswain, and then John S. Martin, chief engineer, second engineer, and so on down the list. Would be nice, I think, if it could be just cleaned up a little bit so we can remember these brave men. And on another side we learn that in addition to the 8 crew of the lifeboat, there were 3 men who died in the Peace and Plenty, the ship they were trying to help. Also down at the far end is this huge plot, possibly the one the biggest I've seen, demarked by the curbstones, a plot big enough to build a house on. And the surname is Prideaux Brune. One there, and the one on the far end, Mary Kathleen Prideaux Brune. This one, interesting tale on it. It's a stone cross leaning backwards now, but on the base we read, in loving memory of Cornelius Fitzgerald, aged 23 years, who was drowned in the well at Tremone House, 1911. Now, how on earth did that happen? Well, I'm going to draw this visit to a conclusion. Very peaceful up here, away from the hustle and bustle of the tourists down in the harbour area. Extremely popular. But up here, I think there's one other person wandering around the graveyard. So do come, Padstow is a lovely place to come and see. Graveyard is very peaceful. Till the next time.